Hi. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about some photos that I took with a camera that I did a video about, I think it was about a year ago. I posted a video about this camera. It's a camera that I found at a store called Five Below. And as you can see in the photo, it was manufactured by a company called Uptech. Now, I purchased this camera last year during a trip to the New England states. And it was the first time I'd ever gone to a Five Below, and I was quite surprised to see this display of 35mm film cameras, these plastic cameras. And I saw this one with a checkerboard design, and I've always been a big fan of the checkerboard design, so it immediately grabbed my attention, and I thought, that looks really cool. And I thought to myself, well, even if this camera takes really bad photos, at least it's a good conversation piece, and at least it's a good display piece. It will look good on my shelf with my other cameras in my camera collection. So I took a series of photos with this camera actually over a year ago, and that roll of film has been sitting kind of gathering dust for the past year. And I recently developed that roll of film, and I'm going to share with you some of the photos that I took with this camera. Now, as I mentioned before, again, I only think I paid about $5.50 for this camera, so my expectations were not high at all. But basically, you'll see in the photos that the quality is very, very bad and very, very blurry. Actually, out of all the shots I took with this camera, all 36 shots that I took with this roll of film, every single photo was very out of focus, extremely out of focus. Now, I saw some reviews of these cameras done by other people on YouTube, and I saw a lot of comments along the lines of, if you're too close to the subject, it'll be very blurry. You have to be at least, 6 or 7 feet away from the subject. So I kept that in mind when I took these photos, and I made sure that most of the photos I took, I was a good distance away from the subject that I was taking a photo of. And in fact, many of the photos I took, as you will see eventually, they were all sort of like cityscapes, and they were photos of buildings very far away in the distance, kind of on the skyline. And really not one of them was in focus. Now, what I find really interesting about this, I've been collecting cameras for most of my life, and even cheap plastic cameras, most of them that I've used up to this point, the rule of thumb seems to be if you are at least 3 feet away from your subject, usually it's 3 feet to infinity, even with the most cheap plastic camera, if you're 3 feet to infinity away from your subject, 99% of the time it's in focus from my experience as a general rule of thumb. So this is the first camera I've ever owned where pretty much every single shot was incredibly blurry. So so again, I wasn't expecting too much, but it would have been nice if the photos were at least in focus. But anyway, I would say don't bother with this camera. This is sort of like a part 2 that is sort of like a footnote to my previous video. The previous video I did about a year ago was basically just looking at the camera and the various features of it. I wanted to do this video to actually show the photos and to show kind of the results that I got with this camera. But in a nutshell, I would say don't even bother. Again, it's not a total loss. It still looks pretty good on my shelf next to my other cameras in my collection. But really, as I've mentioned before, it's very, very easy to get your hands on a good used film camera. You can find them at places like Salvation Army, Goodwill, Value Village. You can find them very easily, sometimes for less than $20, sometimes less than $10. And also, it's very common for people to give old cameras. I'm sure if you ask around, there's probably people in your family, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, who probably have an old film camera that's just sitting in a closet somewhere not being used, and they'd probably be more than happy to give it to you. I would say instead of going out and buying one of these cheap cameras, just look around and see if you can get something that's a little bit better quality. Really, for roughly the same amount of money, I'm sure you could find something very decent, very on the secondhand market, whether it be, again, at a thrift store or online. I'm very certain you can find one for a very decent price that will give you much better photos than what I got with this camera. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to share with you some of the photos that I took with this camera. Again, incredibly blurry, so buyer beware. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. It's always greatly appreciated. Feel free to leave a comment and give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.